Hey everyone, Old School from whatthebuck.net, coming to you live from One Buck Place. Crowd still out here getting autographs from the team, wrapping up practice here in 2017 for the final day. I'd like to tell you that the energy level was up from the last 2 days, but it wasn't. I think that the team really kind of staggered through the final couple of days of training camp. I'm not sure whether the up energy because of, people want to not talk about Hard Knocks like it's not a distraction, all that. These guys were phenomenal. The HBO staff was phenomenal, but anytime you have that increased scrutiny, the increased pressure, it's going to create a different emotional pressure on the players, and maybe that had nothing to do with it. Who knows? All I know is the last 3 practices have not been their best practices, and that's not really what you want to see going into the season. Now, that doesn't mean that everything is bad. It means that they've got to right that ship, and I think Coach Koetter is very well aware of it. He seems to be very pragmatic when it comes to those sorts of things. He was very direct addressing it in the post-practice press conference. There were a number of players who were kept out, dinged up a little bit here and there. Gerald McCoy, you saw me tweeting about it. I saw him go out yesterday. Doesn't seem like it's anything serious, but he was not out there doing a tremendous amount of work. He was in pads. He was out there. But Coach said it was no big deal. A couple of other guys were out, Quan and others, Dot. On the offensive line, we still see Panfield flipping over to tackle. Today, I think that by and large, in the press conference they said that they thought O.J. Howard had a great practice. He had highs and lows, as you have, but I thought the tight ends in general were down compared to where they've been in this camp. There was a seeming lack of attention from all of them. And that's not just O.J. Howard. Brait, too, atypically. I even tweeted that, an atypical drop from Brait, but then he had 3 other drops, I think, in the practice today. So there were certainly moments of joy and moments of despair. A couple of nice long balls from Jameis, some accuracy on the long ball from Jameis. Sadly, it was not met with any sort of hands on the other end, and that was sort of equal opportunity, bad hands. But Godwin was on the other end on a couple of those, which was a sad situation as well. Guys that popped in a positive way, that Darius Glanton gets a chance to get on the field, he is impressive. Do I think that makes him better than some of the guys in front of him? No, not necessarily, but it gives you a tremendous amount of depth and flexibility. Now, a guy that I've beaten up on, not personally, but just thinking I don't think he makes this roster, was Charles Sims. Now, 2 days in a row, Coach Koetter's come out in the post-game press conference and given him a ton of credit. Today, it was even more impressive, the credit he gave him, because he talked about how many places he plays and the fact that he sees improved effort and ability in the run game, as well as tremendous pass protection. So much quality and pass protection that they've got him in the core on special teams, which is a tribute to his blocking ability. So I may have prematurely called for the end of Charles Sims' tenure in Tampa Bay. We'll see when he gets some reps in practice. To be honest, I think that McNichols, I know a lot of people will have high hopes for him. He's a young guy. He looks like a young guy. He did the run into the back of an offensive lineman and get knocked down thing today. But I think that by and large, the guys are going to be playing for this team. You got the Doug Martin, Jacquizz Rodgers. Charles Sims looks like he's climbed back up there. Peyton Barber. I think everyone else is on the outside looking in. On defense today, Martin did practice today. I think he's practiced. Yeah, I saw him today. It's funny, I wasn't watching back today, so I wasn't being overly critical. That's why I was kind of caught aback by the Charles Sims comment, so I apologize. On defense, the guys who stood out, I thought Clinton McDonald had a good practice. It's funny, when Gerald's not in there, you get to see how good Clinton McDonald can be. Glanton, I mentioned him. Conti had a good practice today. Harris, 30, the guy who I don't think has a snowball's chance in hell of making this team, but he may be practice squad eligible. He just has a sense for the ball. He was all over the field again today when he got chances. Riley Bullock, everyone wants to know how he's doing. He does well when he's in there. He does well. I think those are probably the high points. Vernon Hargraves was in there mixing it up with folks, doing a good job. He got beat by Deshaun Jackson, but you're going to get beat by Deshaun Jackson. And I tweeted this, and it's hard to explain. But if you know what an out and up is, or a bench and go, there's a bunch of different handles for it. You run what looks like an out, try and draw the coverage in, then you go on a 9, and you take off. With that kind of speed, that's a great route. But what we did this time was he went bench, go, and stop, or a comeback. And Vernon Hargraves was damn near to the concession stand, and it was an easy reception. When you have that kind of blazing speed, that kind of route opens up. This is one of those things we talk about when we say the weapons that Jameis has now. It's not just that they're out there. It's that every time they go out on a route, the things they can do. We didn't just go get a Chad Johnson who could only run 2 routes. Deshaun Jackson runs every route on the damn field. He is a legitimate weapon. If he can stay healthy, legitimate weapon. Chris Godwin, despite the drop say, legitimate weapon. Adam Humphrey, same thing. Mike Evans isn't even on the field, and they're still able to do this, right? Mike was a expected holdout today for vet status, rest, whatever. So on the offensive side of the ball, if we can keep these guys upright, and I want to make one comment about upright, then I think they're going to be able to put a lot of points on the board if they can figure out how to get in the damn end zone and red zone, which is a problem so far in preseason. Something I'd like to see a lot of improvement in Game 3 for sure. I know they're not going to uncork all of the tricks, but they've got to show the ability to get in once you get into the red zone and get 6 points and not 3. In the chapter on threes today, Nick Folk had a good day, so did Hocker. Folk was particularly good. Hocker hit a crowd-pleasing 60-ish yard kick all through the narrow posts. So in that regard, it looked good in practice, but that doesn't mean shit until they get to the real field. Pass protection. I finally saw us running some chip assist with tight ends, and I think we're going to have to do that with Dot out. Have to do that sometimes with Donovan Smith to give him a hand. There's nothing wrong. There's no. You're not giving up when you do that. So what essentially happens is your tight end chips before he releases. Howard is so athletic and such a good blocker that he can get such a good assist block on that whatever end he's on is protected. So if we're worried about that right tackle with Dot out, we've got a number of ways to help protect that. And I think we saw that this year, or this practice. So anyway, that's the update. I'll be on. We'll have Justin Pulowski, the commission Online on Twitter. We'll also have my man Keith Larson from the Buckaholics, maybe a couple of call-ins, talking about the tailgates, talking about the season, talking about fan unification, talking about what we're going to look forward to see against the Cleveland Browns, and talking about your beloved Buccaneers. I appreciate you guys following these videos. I'll be trying to do these again throughout the year, pre-post games, that sort of stuff, kind of keep you guys going, as well as the podcast. We certainly love your support, and we'll talk to you soon. Tweet at us. Go Bucs.